Everyone, welcome back to Lisa's Study Guides, your place for weekly English tips. I'm so excited to share new advice with you guys because I've just come back from an immensely hectic week overseas. I went to Malaysia and Singapore where my cousin Quee got married to Melody. Congratulations, guys. So that was really fun and exciting, but it also meant that there was a lot of reorganization with my private tutoring sessions and also for my Saturday classes that I have, making sure that my students were up to date with everything they needed to be while I was away. So I'm super excited to be back and sharing English advice with you guys. So let's get kick-started. Written explanations, what are they? Written explanations, depending on what school you go to, may be labeled different things. People also know them as statement of intentions. To sum it up in a nutshell, it is essentially like writing an analysis on your own writing. Written explanations are generally paired with an essay that you've written. So that essay might be persuasive, it might be creative, or any other form. But what it does is it gives your teacher an understanding as to why you made certain decisions when you decided to write this particular essay. So what kind of decisions are we talking about? FLAPC. FLAPC stands for form, language, audience, purpose, and context. Now, your school might not necessarily follow the same structure or the same rule, FLAPC. They might modify it, they might not even say FLAPC, but that's okay. At the end of the day, as long as you have some of these elements or something similar, then you're on the right track when it comes to written explanations. So if we were to follow the FLAPC, let's see how we would write the written explanation. F for form. There are traditionally three forms of writing accepted in assessments: expository, creative, or persuasive essay. Depending what your assessment requires you to do, you will need to explain why you chose this certain form. So let's say you do a creative piece. You'd want to explain why you went ahead and decided to do a short story, or why you wanted to do a letter, or if not that, then perhaps a poem. Forms of writing are really important because it's essentially the structure of your essay, it's the appearance of it, how the message is delivered. Here's an example. I chose to write in a letter format because I aim to portray the thinking process of one of the minor characters, Gardiner, from The Lieutenant. Language. When writing, you always choose to use particular words or phrases to illustrate your ideas. Think about what type of language you've used and why. For example, did you use formal language? Did you use informal? Was the language sophisticated with heaps of vocabulary? Or did you keep it simple for a particular reason? Did you write it from first-person perspective? Did you write it from a third-person perspective? Each and every one of these factors adds a little bit of something unique to your piece. You also need to think about other language techniques you might have used, like symbolism, metaphors, alliteration, and more. For example, I have also written from the first-person perspective in order to convey a very personal and private stream of consciousness from Gardiner. Audience. Every piece of writing always has an audience. Rather than just say my essay is for my teacher to read or my essay is for other students in my classroom to read, be a little bit more creative than that. If your piece is exploring a particular idea or a particular theme, are there certain types of people out there who could really relate to your piece and take advice from it or learn from it? For example, if you're dealing with conflict and your character in your creative is going through something that is morally conflicting, then perhaps the audience could be other people who are also going through inner conflict. For example, my piece is designed to be read by those who are also struggling with any type of inner conflict. I intend for my readers to depart with a greater understanding that inner conflict is something that may not necessarily be resolved in a matter of days or even in a matter of weeks. Purpose. This overlaps a little bit in the audience because you could definitely pair them together when talking about why you've written this piece for your particular audience. Essentially, the purpose is the message that you want to send to your audience. What do you want them to take away from your piece? Finally, C. C stands for context. Context is usually the background of your piece. So you could talk about certain themes from your text that you've used as a basis of your discussion in your essay. For example, I explored the idea that conflict inevitably changes people. Every person encounters conflict. It drives individuals to challenge themselves and to deal with new experiences. So I hope that helps in terms of written explanations or statement of intentions. If you like this video, then please subscribe to this channel, and if you already have, give it a thumbs up because I'd love to hear whether or not this was helpful for you guys. If you didn't know, I do hold classes on Saturday mornings in Melbourne, so if you're interested, then I'll put a link down below for you guys to check out. There's still a few spots left, so I'd absolutely love to meet you guys. Otherwise, if you can't come into the city, then feel free to visit my website www.bcstudyguides.com because we have an amazing team of tutors on board who are mobile, so they can meet up with you either at your place or a local library. Alright guys, I'm out for this week. I will see you next week for another new video on English tips. Bye guys!